Hello friends, today we are going to configure web server. So for that we need domain controller and domain controller with DNS. So at first rename it and let's check for the LAN segment. Let's put this in LAN segment 1. To make this local server a domain controller, we need to have static IP address. So for that we can type ncpa.cpl or we can directly go through from here. So as we have disconnected this from internet, we can see that it is getting IP address from previous LAN segment. So we'll go to properties, disable IPv6, and inside IPv4 I will put here a static IP address. Let's say 192.168.1.2 and in DNS as well 192.168.1.2. Why both are same? Because this local server will be a domain controller as well as a DNS server. So let's check for the IP address once again. You can check from here details. The static IP address of this computer this machine is 192.168.1.2 and this is the DNS server address, which is the same. Now let's refresh it. You can see the IP address, just we put it on. And in Windows Firewall we have to turn off Windows Firewall for our virtual configuration. And again let's refresh it. Public, private, both are off. And this computer name we can change or not, it's your choice. You can change it from here, change here. Either we can put on DC or anything. Now to make this local server or domain controller, we will go to this manage section, add roles and features, then next. This is the server pool. Server pool means the number of IP address. Like the swimming pool, it is also a pool of IP address. We have only one IP address in this machine, so we'll go on to this IP address. And here to make this server or domain controller, we'll need Active Directory Domain Services, which means ADDS. Its function is to, here you also return to store information about the object. This means the users and groups and everything will be included inside this Active Directory Domain Services. This keeps the record, I mean to say. You can click it on install. This will take certain time, so I will pause the video and resume when it finishes. So as you can see that the configuration is installed, which means that ADDS is installed in this machine. So you have to promote this local server to a domain controller by clicking here, or you can go through from here. Promote the server to a domain controller. And we have to click on this new forest, which means that if you are working on an organization like ISMT college, you have to give the domain name is ismt.com, or in any organization shiprati.com or abc.com, any organization you can write it on. So here I am going to write test or demo .com. Generally, this name will be the name of the organization. This is the domain name, which means that all the computers are under this domain. Now put the recovery password. It should be the mix up of special letters, capital letter, small letter. This task of DNS will do it later on. Net bias name, which is the short name of the domain name. For example, if the name of any student is Ram Thapa, we generally call it by his name, not by his full name. Now click next. This prerequisite check should be passed on, which means that if it passes, then a green tick mark will be shown here. Yes. Now click install. This will automatically make this local server domain controller. Now computer will restart. And one thing also, when it restarts, I will pause the video to save some time. The computer will automatically sign out and log off. So here we can see that. Now here you can press Ctrl Alt plus delete. You can press it from laptop or you can go from here. So previously you must have noticed that here was only an administrator, which means that the user of this computer, and this is our domain name, or in short we can say this is the net bias name. So let's put on the password. Now let's go on to my computer. As it is loading, it gets slower. Now let's check for the IP address. ncpa.cpl. Here on95 network is given, so it will change later on. So you can see that the DNS server name is erased, so we'll put on again. Here a loopback IP address is automatically inserted. At first, while booting on the domain controller, it generally gets erased. Okay, now you can see again the DNS IP address is alive. So if the domain name is not given here, we can disable it and enable it. Disable and then again by double clicking or click on this and this click on enable. Here we can see the domain name. In other case, we can also see the full name of this computer into the domain name by going on this PC, right click, properties, and then here it is inside the domain demo.com and full computer name inside the domain. That means if this is our class section A, then this is your name inside the section A, ram.sectiona.com. So this is the full name of computer. Now we can see the domain name here also. Previously it was workgroup, now it has changed to demo.com. Disable this domain also for virtual purpose. Real life it is not done. Now this computer is ready to become a domain controller. Now let's move on to the DNS configuration. Now in DNS configuration we have to put forward lookup and reverse lookup. Forward lookup, in forward lookup, here you can see already you can see the name of the computer and its IP address. This is for the forward lookup zone, and for reverse lookup zone we have to create a reverse lookup zone. To do that, you can go on to reverse lookup zone, right click, new zone, next. This is the primary zone. Next, IPv4, we are dealing on IPv4, so network portion of net 192.168.1.2 is 192.168.1. This is the network ID. As the name suggests, reverse. The IP network ID of the IP also is also reversed. So click on double click it on. Now right click, new pointer, and you can manually type the host name or this computer's name, or to prevent from any grammatical error or spelling error, we can go on to this demo.com. We have entered inside this demo.com. Now the name of this computer, as we are going to configure this domain controller as a domain controller, so we have to give the name of this computer to become a DNS server. Now let's check for the either DNS is configured or not. So right click on this and click launch Nslookup. As we can see that this server, this computer's full name, previously we have also seen this computer's full name is this one and its IP address is this. This signifies that this computer will act as a DNS server, or we can go from command line also. go to run, type cmd, or you can directly type nslookup. Now nslookup, here we can see nslookup is, or we can say the DNS server is properly configured. Now we can move on to the web server. In web server we have to install IIS server or IIS feature, or you can say role also. Now double click, then search for a IIS server or web server. Here, add feature. This is done for the hosting of any HTML file inside a local, domain controller. Now click on next. These are the web services. So for our lab purpose, we don't need to configure any of this extra roles. So we'll move on to next. Now install. So it will take some time. I would like to. So as you can see that it takes some time. So in meanwhile, we can configure Windows 7. So let's check for the LAN segment of our web server. It is in LAN segment 1, and IP address of this computer is 192.168.1.2. We can use any IP address beside 192.168.1.2, but both must have same network address. So at first, right click it, go to setting, now LAN segment 1. So now let's check for the IP address. Double click on it. Go to details. This is the OP IP address. When this OP IP address, how does it come? Because this IP address appears when our network adapter cannot find the DHCP server. It automatically assigns itself a IP address which is called OP IP address. Now go to IPv4, click on use the following IP address 192.168.1. Beside 2 you can use 3, 4, anything. And now on DNS server 192.168.1.2, not 3, because this means that whatever the DNS query it is having, it will be resolved by this server, which means that server with the IP address of 192.168.1.2 means that this server has an IP address of 192.168.1.2. Now click OK, then close. Now go to details. Yes. Now we can go to my computer and same process, right click, properties. As we can see that our previous domain controller was in the domain demo.com, so we should also put this computer inside that domain demo.com. For that, click change setting. Before going to change setting, now let's try to ping our server ping space 192.168.2, which is the IP address of domain controller. It is pinging easily. Now ping for its domain name, ping demo.com. We are getting the reply as we have already put up the IP address of this server 192.168.1.2. Now move on to change setting. Click change click domain. What was the domain? demo.com. Now click on OK. Now we have to write the username and password of our web server, which means that the username was administrator and password what we have put up in our domain controller. Here you can see that it says welcome to the demo.com domain. It will ask for a restart. So let's restart it. To use this computer as a member of domain, we should have a username and password for it. So here you can see that the installation is also completed on this domain controller. Now go on to Server Manager. Here you can see the IIS Server, which is the web server, that feature is already installed. LDS for domain controller and DNS is already installed. So let's move on to Tools and then Active Directory Users and Computer to create the username and password for this PC inside the domain. You can type shortcut dsa.msc. This is for the DNS Server Manager. As I am using in the virtual machine, so it will take some time. Now we can see that Active Directory User and Computer is open. So go on to demo.com, then users. Here we can create the username and password for this PC. So for that you can go on to right click on this empty side and new and then user. So I will give its name test user and then test. This is the logon name or username for our domain controller. Now next, here you can see that in this PC, so what we have seen when it was log off and restarted, so you can see that its name was demo/administrator, which is the username of this computer. For this computer the username will be test and the full name will be, logon name will be demo/test. Next, now put the strong password, retype it. Now uncheck it and check on password never expires. When we click on other things it will be tedious, so we click on password never expires. So this is the logon name. So move on to Windows 7. Now it will, when this computer is a member of the domain, then this name will be shown. Now go on to this. Now switch user. As you can see that here the NetBIOS name is not shown. So switch user, other user. So you can see that demo. This was the NetBIOS name of this domain controller or domain. So type the test. You can type @ also, but no need because already is given demo. And type the password. Now enter or switch. Test, enter. Now the number of users will be shown here. Number of domain controller will be shown here. Now this is the name of this computer, which is the global catalog, and the computers are the number of computers which are under this domain controller. So we can see that already the name is shown here. We can see the properties of this domain, PC, its operating system, its member of which domain or groups, and other things as well. Now let's move on to ncpa.cpl, that is the IP configuration. So this PC is the member of demo.com, so the name of the domain is written here. Now again move on to my computer, right click, properties. So previously it was under the work group, now it is under the domain called demo.com. So this is the full name of the computer inside the domain. Now check for the Nslookup inside this PC. It should return fine. Nslookup. Yes, it's working. Now type Ctrl C. You can also ping our domain name. This is pinging well. If you want to ping recursively, then you can type demo.com space -t. It will never end until you press on Ctrl C. Now it will stop. Now for the web server configuration, we will go to my computer, inside the desktop, or you can put on inside any C drive. Now new folder, Ctrl Shift N. Now it will call it demo. So inside the demo, double click, right click, new text document. ABC, or you can simply give name index. Now type some HTML codes inside it. So for simplicity, we'll type only a simple code that will display the HTML file. HTML. So for the header, this is for the title, this is the closing of the header, and now body part. This one is for the h1 header. Then you can type any text here. So this is a heading. Now close this h1 slash h1. Same thing. Let's copy it. Set down some time. This is for the paragraph. And now this is for the closing of body. Now this is the end of all HTML code. So let's save it. File, save as. Save is in the form of HTML. index.html. Save. So let's browse it. In today's time, we'll set up Internet Explorer as a default browser. So this is the HTML code that we have written. So this is the heading, which I have a header h1, so it is enlarged, and this is the paragraph which is in normal text. So any HTML file you can use, either image or text or anything, it will be shown here. So for simplicity we have used a small code. Now let's move on to IIS Manager, Internet Information Services Manager. Now here is not Internet Explorer, so to save some time, we can pin it on taskbar. Pin to taskbar. As you can see in this very slow Internet Explorer, if we type localhost, which uses loopback IP, so you can see it in localhost that this web page is shown. From where this web page is shown, it is already embedded inside this IIS Server Manager. Now expand this. Close it. These are the websites which are hosted by our domain controller. This is the default website which we have just shown inside this localhost. Now to create another website for this HTML file we have created, now go on to sites, right click, add website. This is the site name. Any site name you can give it, demo.com or anything. Where we have put this HTML file, we have to give the path of that folder. Inside the C, inside this demo, we have put on that HTML file. Now click OK. Now if you do not assign any IP address, it will directly switch to a loopback IP. So you will assign a valid IP 192.168.1.2. So this is the service we can use, HTTP or HTTPS. For simplicity we will use HTTP, whose port address is 80. So here we can give the host name www.test.com. Okay, inside this we can simply rename it, give it name a test. Sorry, it is already open here. Test. Rename it as test. It will automatically rename here to, and here type test. www.test.com. When you browse www.test.com, this web page will, that previous web page will appear. No, at first we have to configure DNS services as well. So click on OK. Now double click on directive browsing, enable it. Now let's check for Nslookup. Go to command to check if www.test.com is valid or not. Nslookup www.test.com. As you can see that DNS request is timeout, which means that we have to configure DNS services. So to go on to DNS, either you can go from tools and then DNS, or you can go from here DNS. You can right click on here and then DNS Manager. Now we have not created the name for www.test.com. So right click on here, new zone, next, and here test.com, next, finish. So this is the folder where you can create the forward lookup zone for test.com. Now right click here, new host. So full name will be www.test.com. So here also we have written www.test.com. Now IP address 192.168.1.2, which we have specified previously. Add host. So the local host is successfully created. Now click on done. This is the forward lookup. We should also create the reverse lookup zone. So from here we can create that reverse lookup zone. Now move on to Nslookup. Now when you type www.test.com, now www.test.com is resolved into IP address 192.168.1.2. Why same IP address? Because the domain controller IP address is 192.168.1.2, and it is also hosting that web page, which is www.test.com inside this PC as well. So now let's try it from here. Go to command nslookup www.test.com. So this PC is also ready to have some DNS services. Now I guess one thing is missing. So go on to this folder, right click. This should be shared with everyone, which have every users, everyone. Now add, give the read and write permission, share. So this folder will be shared inside the domain. Now let's browse it from either web server or Windows 7. Now let's open Internet Explorer, which you already know that is very slow, but here I have not installed any Firefox or Chrome. So we'll type the domain name here, test.com. As we can see that this web page is opened inside any of the users of or any of the PC which is connected inside the domain. So let's try it from here. www.test.com, enter. So here also you can see that the web page is shown clearly. So in this way we can configure the web server inside a domain controller, which means that this domain controller is hosting all of the web pages uh, inside the domain controller. So in this way, we have completed our video tutorial on how to configure web server or DNS server in domain controller, and we have checked that uh, either this web server is correctly working properly or not from this domain controller, as well as from this PC or users of this domain. So thank you very much. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.